In the shadows of myth and reality, monsters stir. From ancient legends to modern nightmares, we explore the creatures that haunt our stories, and sometimes, our lives. Welcome to Among Monsters podcast, where the line between man and monsters is thinner than you think.
The Cosmic Predator, Heriberto Seda, New York's Zodiac Copycat. This is the Zodiac speaking. Those chilling words, a spectral whisper from the late 1960s, first draped a veil of fear across America, sent from a shadow hiding behind cryptic ciphers and the indelible stain of blood. But in the pulsating concrete sprawl of 1990s New York City, that malevolent voice was reborn, louder, more erratic, infused with a new, urban terror and every bit as deadly. Tonight on Among Monsters, we descend into the profoundly fractured mind of a man who truly believed he was chosen by the very stars, destined to fulfill a cosmic prophecy of death. A reclusive figure who meticulously mimicked a monster of a bygone era, not out of mere imitation but seeking his own twisted version of infamy, ultimate control, and widespread chaos, all channeled through the ominous lens of astrology and murder. This is the chilling, twisted tale of Heriberto Seda, the Zodiac Copycat Killer. Brooklyn, 1990, a city under a darkened sky. Brooklyn, New York. The year is 1990. The Big Apple, in its relentless churn, felt as though it was choking on the sheer volume of its own crime. The streets were a raw, unfiltered tableau of urban struggle. The pervasive blight of crack cocaine, the brutal territorial ballet of gang warfare, and random, senseless acts of violence that seemed to stain every borough, every block. Yet, amidst this daily, overwhelming chaos, something far stranger, far more insidious began to emerge. A pattern, a chilling signature that defied the randomness of the streets. The victims were not haphazard targets. They were chosen, selected, their fates dictated by the unseen, celestial alignment of their very star signs. On March 8th, 1990, the first dark omen appeared. Mario Orozco, a Scorpio by birth, walked down a Brooklyn street, his life mundane, unremarkable. He was shot in the back without warning, a silent strike from an unseen hand. No known enemies, no discernible reason for the violence. He survived, but barely, his life forever marked by the brush with a cosmic assassin. 2 weeks later, the pattern solidified. Jerome Patrick, a Taurus, found himself the next target, shot in the chest, same Brooklyn neighborhood, same chilling type of bullet. He too survived, a testament to luck, perhaps, but a survivor forever haunted by the unseen hand that chose him. And then, like a cold breath across the city, came the note, typed, devoid of emotion, chillingly deliberate. Zodiac, time to die. Each victim, the letter meticulously explained, was chosen with perverse precision, based solely on their astrological sign. And each sign, the cosmic prophet declared, would get its destined turn in the grim wheel of fate. Police were baffled, their resources already stretched thin by the relentless tide of urban crime. New York, a city accustomed to its own brutal rhythm, simply did not have time for the esoteric pronouncements of serial killers. The daily newspapers were already packed with headlines of despair. But this This was profoundly different. The shooter left letters, complex symbols, baffling ciphers, a chilling, almost theatrical mimicry of the original Zodiac Killer of California, who had terrorized the West Coast 2 decades prior. But this new Zodiac was not hiding behind the misty lake shores or the swirling San Francisco fog. He was stalking the grimy pavement of New York City, a ghost among millions. He slipped through the labyrinthine tunnels of subway trains, moving like an unseen current between bustling boroughs, his presence leaving no trace but terror. His new, chilling message, etched in blood and starlight, was clear. No one was safe, not by location, but by the immutable decree of their birth. The Dark Apprentice, Heriberto Seda's Descent. Heriberto Seda was born on July 31st, 1967, his early life rooted deeply in the vibrant, complex tapestry of Brooklyn. He grew up without the guiding presence of a father, and his mother, a devout Jehovah's Witness, instilled in him a strict, isolated upbringing. As he transitioned into his teenage years, Seda became increasingly withdrawn, consumed by a palpable anger that simmered beneath his quiet exterior. He became fixated, with a chilling intensity, on the esoteric world of astrology, the raw power of guns, and the intoxicating allure of absolute control. He was not a transient figure, a drifter flitting between states like the original Zodiac. He was fiercely local, unemployed, a genuine recluse, living a solitary existence with his mother and half-sister in the claustrophobic confines of a small Brooklyn apartment. It was within these cramped walls, away from prying eyes, that he meticulously constructed makeshift weapons, crude yet lethally effective zip guns fashioned from household items like flashlights and plumbing materials. And it was there, amidst the clutter of a confined life, that he kept meticulous journals, filled not with the mundane details of daily existence, but with complex, chilling entries about the stars, their alignments, and the cosmic dictates he believed they imposed. He didn't just admire the original Zodiac Killer, he idolized him. He meticulously copied his obscure codes. He embraced his flair for orchestrating widespread public fear. And most disturbingly, he inherited and amplified the original Zodiac's burning narcissistic desire to be remembered, to carve his name into the annals of infamy, even if it meant doing so in the shadows of a predecessor. Between 1990 and 1993, fueled by his warped astrological prophecies and his hunger for recognition, Seda continued his chilling spree. He attacked a total of 8 people. 3 of them succumbed to their wounds, their lives extinguished with a casual brutality. Most were shot at close range, the crude, handmade zip guns proving their devastating lethality. His victims, tragically, had nothing in common, no shared profession, no overlapping social circles, except for the immutable decree of their zodiac signs. Each time, Seda ensured his presence was known, leaving his chilling notes. "This is the Zodiac," they boldly declared, an echo of the past, yet imbued with new menace. "You are my target. There are 12 signs, and 12 must die." A chilling promise of future terror. Some notes were dense with convoluted astrological jargon, references to planetary alignments, perplexing retrogrades, even cryptic allusions to tarot. He spoke in his writings like a prophet of death, utterly convinced he was on a sacred, cosmically ordained mission. And then, suddenly, the astrological terror vanished. For 3 agonizing years, the Zodiac Copycat went utterly silent. The streets of New York breathed a collective, uncertain sigh of relief. Some believed the monster had finally died, his reign ending as mysteriously as it began. Others theorized he had been arrested on unrelated charges, a silent removal from the urban stage. The trail went cold, the active case slowly archiving itself into the grim chronicles of urban terror. Another unsolved mystery in a city teeming with them. The standoff and the unveiling, fate's interruption. The silence held a fragile peace until 1996. June 18, 1996. Heriberto Seda's name remained unknown to the public, a phantom lurking behind his chosen symbol. But inside the small Brooklyn apartment he shared, the oppressive tension he had created was reaching a boiling point, ready to erupt. His isolation and untreated delusions had twisted him further. He had grown increasingly paranoid, relentlessly controlling, and profoundly abusive toward his half-sister, Gladys Reyes, his closest captive audience. On that fateful day, their simmering conflict exploded into a violent confrontation. Seda, his mask fully off, pulled a gun on her, his rage now turned inward, toward the very few people left in his suffocating world. The police were called, a desperate cry for intervention. A standoff began. Seda, armed with his makeshift arsenal, barricaded himself within the cramped apartment, transforming his home into a final fortress of his madness. He threatened suicide, a desperate act of control. SWAT teams were called, their presence a stark signal of the escalating danger. After hours of tense negotiations, the standoff culminated in his eventual surrender. What officers found inside that small Brooklyn apartment, a space that had harbored such unspeakable darkness, would blow the Zodiac Copycat case wide open, illuminating the shadows with a terrifying clarity. Within that confined space, meticulously hidden from the world, investigators discovered detailed journals filled with his terrifying astrological predictions, the precise names of victims, their birth dates, and his chillingly calculated planned attack dates. A meticulous diary of a cosmic killer. Numerous handwritten codes and ciphers, many directly modeled after the baffling puzzles left by the original Zodiac, a testament to his perverse mimicry. Extensive news clippings about his own crimes, each headline a badge of honor in his delusional world. Precise blueprints for zip guns, the very weapons he used to extinguish lives, laying bare his crude but lethal ingenuity. And most damning, the undeniable, irrefutable proof. A fingerprint match to one of the letters left at a 1992 crime scene. A digital ghost finally materialized into solid evidence. He had written about it all. Every twisted thought. Every planned atrocity, every victim chosen by the stars, in his own hand. Heriberto Seda was the Zodiac Copycat. The phantom had a name as the false prophet, trial and condemnation. Interrogation brought forth even more disturbing insight into the depths of his pathology. Seda confessed proudly to his profound obsession. He clung to the delusion that the stars had dictated his targets, that the cosmos had chosen him as its instrument. He claimed he was guided to those victims by the immutable hand of fate, by the undeniable, sacred influence of astrology. He stubbornly maintained he wasn't a killer in the conventional sense, but a chosen instrument of cosmic justice, a divine hand executing the will of the heavens. But behind that veil of mystical nonsense, behind the astrological jargon and prophetic pronouncements, was a man who was, at his core, nothing more than a chilling narcissist and a cold, calculating sadist. He craved attention above all else. He sought absolute control. He desired the raw power to command headlines and to inspire pervasive, existential fear across a city. And for a time, he got it. At his 1998 trial, Heriberto Seda remained combative, his demeanor erratic, yet unsettlingly calm. He brazenly attempted to represent himself, a final act of control over his own narrative. He ranted about constellations, about planetary shifts, about the cosmic alignment that justified his every act. He dismissed with delusional conviction the damning DNA and fingerprint evidence, retreating into his own impenetrable world of warped belief. But the prosecution, meticulous and relentless, had everything they needed, and then some. Survivors, brave souls who had stared death in the face and lived, offered their harrowing testimonies. One woman recounted with chilling clarity how he simply walked up to her, uttered the cold, dispassionate words, "Sorry, you're a Gemini," and then shot her point-blank in the face. Another described how he asked for her date of birth, his questions seemingly innocuous, and then pulled the trigger as soon as she gave him her star sign. There was no remorse in his eyes, no hesitation in his actions, just a chilling, unyielding purpose. The verdict arrived swiftly, unequivocally. Guilty on multiple counts of attempted murder and weapons possession. The sentence, 232 years to life. The Zodiac Copycat would never see the stars again, his cosmic journey abruptly, definitively halted by the walls of a concrete prison. The Unrepentant Echo, a shadowed legacy. Today, Heriberto Seda sits behind bars at Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York, a stark gray landscape far removed from the celestial maps that once guided his terror. He remains an unsettling figure, calm, intelligent, and perhaps most chillingly, completely unrepentant. In sporadic interviews from prison, he has consistently tried to downplay his crimes. He attempts to craft a narrative of misunderstanding, claiming he didn't mean for anyone to die, that he was merely an instrument, not an agent of death. But the overwhelming weight of the evidence tells a profoundly different story. It reveals a man who meticulously stalked, relentlessly hunted, and deliberately selected victims as if they were mere entries in a sick horoscope. A man who turned ancient mystical symbols into literal murder maps. A man who truly believed death could be divine if it followed the dictates of the stars. What makes Seda so profoundly chilling isn't just the brutality of his crimes. It's that he consciously copied another monster's legacy, and then, in his soaring narcissism, tried to surpass it, to make it his own. He was not original in his conception of evil. He was inspired by evil, finding his dark blueprint in the forgotten headlines of California. And with the chilling hubris of a madman, he attempted to redraw that blueprint on the very back of New York City, scarring its streets with a familiar terror. But for all his meticulous planning, for all his delusional mysticism, he ultimately failed to become the legend, the cosmic prophet he so desperately wanted to be. Instead, he became a mere footnote in the pantheon of true, infamous monsters. A man trapped not just by prison bars, but by the impenetrable walls of his own delusions. A predator who allowed the stars to blind him to reality, until reality, in the form of a half-sister's courage and relentless police work, slammed shut around him, containing his terror forever. We remember Mario Orozco, who survived his brutal assault; Jerome Patrick, who survived the chilling astrological shot; Joseph Proch, 78 years old, fatally shot by Seda; Patricia Fonte, 39 years old, brutally murdered and stabbed over 100 times; Rick Ford, Valentina Suriani, and others, all selected by fate, or so Seda, in his twisted cosmology, believed. They were not symbols. They were not mere astrological signs. They were people with lives, dreams, and futures tragically extinguished, and they paid the ultimate price for one man's self-serving cosmic fantasy. I'm Damien Vale. This has been Among Monsters, a place where the stars don't align for destiny. They burn with the cold fire of human cruelty. Until next time, stay aware, stay grounded, because belief, when twisted and consumed by the darkness of a single mind, can be unimaginably deadly, especially in the hands of a true believer.
Thank you for listening to Among Monsters podcast. Find more episodes of Among Monsters podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, or anywhere premium podcasts exist. Email us at amongmonsterspodcast@gmail.com.